I'm Kehinde, and it's another episode of Smart Skills. And in case you're just joining us for the first time, it's a show where we feature female professionals who are doing excellently well in their careers. Of course, with a view to allowing you to learn one or two things from their experiences, and of course, be better at what you do. So, Benny, I'll allow you to introduce our special guest on the show today.
I'm just going to usher her in, but I want you to do the honors, introducing her and telling our viewers who she really is in the HR space.
Okay.
So we have a very special guest today. Her name is Faith Akintunde. So Kenny, who is Faith?
Okay, Faith is a senior HR professional who has had vast experience working with multinationals across the globe. And I have been an avid follower of hers for some time. And I've always wanted to get to know her. I've always wanted to know how her journey has been. And so when we sent the invite to Faith and she honored that invitation, I literally hit the roof. So Faith, thank you for joining us on the program today. Can you tell us how your journey in HR has been so far?
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Benny. And thanks for having me. I don't know if it was me you just described now, but I feel very humbled to be a part of this great work you're doing with the HR Girlfriends. A great job there. And thank you for having me once more. Okay, so to the question, how's my journey been? How did my journey in HR start and all of that? Yeah. I started my career in investment banking. I started as an investment banker, and I was an investment advisor. I was a trained investment advisor, and I was to start that career with the rest of my colleagues that were trained. But somehow, I was 2 marks short, right? And then I couldn't get into investment banking core. So I didn't do the advisory bits, and I started with the operations. And just a couple of months into it, vacancy opened in HR. The HR manager left, and in fact, the HR manager left to a very big oil and gas company. So you can imagine the kind of profile that was. So the vacancy came in that we should find someone that would be a stopgap within the organization while the organization was looking for the best fit. So I put in for it. I tried to research it, a bit, and it took me 24 hours actually to prepare. The next day I came to work, I was interviewed, and it wasn't just me, myself and one other colleague was interviewed, and I was taken just to be a stopgap. I was meant to do that while we hire someone, and I'll go back into my stockbroking operations. And you know what? Since I started HR, since then, I didn't have reasons to go back to investment banking. And I'm still doing HR since then. Now, that's about 12 years now. Wow. It's been very interesting. I've done HR for investment banking, done HR for oil and gas servicing, HR for FMCG, manufacturing, and of course, largely in the food space. I've been a business partner in the food space to date. I've really enjoyed my journey. There's been pains, there's been gains, there's been a lot of learning. And I think as we go on in the conversation, there'll be more to talk about, right?
Yes, don't let the cat out of the bag. Yes.
Thank you so much. You really had a very interesting journey. And seeing that you started originally in the financial space, that really, tells me that you are somebody that is very adaptable. You're able to quickly, transition from one role to the other. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Going forward, can you give us examples of the highs and the lows you've experienced in your HR journey so far?
Okay, highs and lows. So it's just going to be a mix of, the highs, the lows. Yeah. Like I said, I started that career in that space without, so I was just to be a stopgap. So there was really no senior HR person to report to. So having to get information for myself, having to learn the ropes by myself, having to look for mentors, having to look for people that will show me how to do the work outside my organization. It was a lot of low for me. It was deep. It was a kind of depth. But then, of course, it was painful. But then I think it made life better for me. It made my career better. A couple of things that come up out of that, and one of it is the HR Pro leverage, which came out as a result of the fact that I experienced not having not having access to senior HR professionals. And I thought that there would be a lot of other HR people out there working for SMEs and not having a senior HR person to report to or to learn from. So HR Pro leverage came up, and since then, it's over 5 years now. We've been growing. We have a lot of senior people that we have younger HR professionals, boarding HR professionals, learning from them. And from then, we've also spin out into HR Academy, the HR Pro Leverage Academy. It's been on for 3 years. We're going to have the 4th edition this year as well, by God's grace. Hopefully, we're out of COVID on time. Those are part of the lows, and those are things that came out from the lows. My highs have been a lot of having to work with a lot of bosses that really appreciated my hard work. I mean, I could humbly say that I think I could be hardworking. And I have been blessed with bosses that recognize that. One of the bosses I had then once told me, once introduced me to his friend, who is another director in an organization. I was like, oh, meet our HR person whom we threw into the oceans and she survived. I usually remember that cliche of his. And each time I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, in case I get thrown into the ocean, I'm so sure that I'm going to survive because I've survived it before and I will still survive it. I've been blessed with very intelligent senior HR people, both in my organization that worked and outside. I've been blessed with mentors. Those are the highs. I think HR has a way of reforming us, Absolutely. There's been a lot of emotional intelligence that have come out of my experience. And I think I could count them as highs for me. The highs as well, as a result of one of my bosses introducing me to his friends, senior people, I've got a job opportunity out of that, which came out of recommendation from my boss. Somehow, it's a long story, a story for another day actually, but I could say that based on that, yeah, not a problem. I got a job at some point in my career where my income tripled. It was a very big leap for me. And I think it came out of a recommendation from a boss that saw hard work. I could count that as a high as well. And I've mentioned the blessing of people, the blessing of mentors. I've been blessed with a network of great people. And over time, it has been fantastic relationships where we became families, we became friends. And I think it's still growing. The list continues. And hopefully we have more highs than the lows.
Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
So, Faith, you've been blazing a trail in the HR profession for years now. And it's got me wondering, how does she put all of them together? How does she integrate life with work? How does that work out for you as a female professional?
Yeah, so work-life integration, I'm glad that we're talking about it. In some balance, you say work-life balance. In some balance, you say is integration. I think we've evolved from work-life balance to integration, because even with COVID-19, there's a lot of integration that now has to happen.
Yes.
You're working from home. Children are schooling from home. You've got to cook because you're at home, right? So, it takes a lot of energy to do that, really. But I would not be fair if I do not talk about this kind of support that I've experienced. I've experienced a lot of support from my husband, a lot of support from families and friends. Sometimes I get people coming to help. I do have a help that support me with kids, but I really wouldn't call her a help because we adopted her. She's a teenager. We're sending her to school. So she's schooling and also supporting me at home. That's the kind of system I have. I also believe in creating a workable system around my life. So there are some things that I would just plan ahead. For example, shopping for groceries. I don't do that every month. I would shop ahead. Sometimes I have some credit limits. I have some people that, they know that I'm credible. So I'll shop for 3 months and then maybe pay some parts and then over a period pay. That's my personal life, but really, it's been working. If one is credible, you can have some kind of support around oneself that will really help you. For example, as much as possible, I try not to bite more than I can chew. I try not to take some problems that are not worth it. Like, oh, how do you want to pay for this credit? How do you want to pay for that credit and all of that? Yes, I mentioned having some credit limits with some of my suppliers. I do have suppliers. I do have people that do some shopping for me on a quarterly basis. So it's not every time I have to do all the work of going to the market. I do go to the market. I do. But my major shopping, like food items, core food items, I do have a support system around that. And seriously, like I mentioned, my husband, he's been a great support. It's been one major check for me. You know, when we talk about checks and balances, it would tell me, Faith, I think you should just check when you're putting too much into this and this area is lacking. Like we talk about a balance, it's like a scale, you know, of different buckets of things. If it's too much on this side, it will tilt here. If it's too much on this side, it will tilt there. So we need to keep checking that balance to see if there's an equilibrium. It's going to be tough to have equilibrium, but really, the more we strive to strike that balance, the better we become. We get more conscious of it. So, for example, I have a schedule. I have a schedule for my kids. I run a schedule, and even with that schedule, I still check in with senior professionals. I have a couple of them that I check in with them. I mean, I may not be able to drop names, but I have very respectable senior professionals that have a family, they have a good home, and I usually will check in. Last weekend, I still checked in, trying to find out, oh, this COVID-19, how are you doing? How are you balancing children's schedule with what you do? And it's the same. You need to run a schedule, and as much as possible, try to spend time with the children. Yes. There'll be times we do have pillow talks once in a while. This holiday time now, we do have pillow talks almost every day, and the kids will remind me, Mommy, pillow talk. You know, as much as I'm trying to strike the balance with my career, I also don't want to look back and say, oh, parenting, I didn't do it well. I don't want to feel guilty. And as a spiritually intelligent person as well, I create time for spiritual, is it refueling or refreshing? I pray, I set time out to pray. And really, sometimes when you pray, you're able to take a lot of burden off your chest. That sort of helps me to keep life going. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Faith. So you heard that, girlfriends. You don't have to be a superwoman. Get help when you need.
That's right.
Create a schedule. I mean, people are out there who can lend one or two hands if you need help. But I wouldn't know if you need help if you don't reach out to me.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Faith, for that. I really I took my learning from that experience.
Thank you.
So Benny, the next question for Faith.
Yes, I wanted to ask Faith, and this is a very interesting question. If you were not in nature, what would you have loved to do?
Okay. That question, quite tricky.
Yeah.
Quite tricky. Is like thinking about my life again and saying, okay, have I enjoyed my journey? If I didn't do HR, what else would I have done? A couple of things. You know, those childhood days when you desire you want to do this. You know, at some point I wanted to be a sister, a reverend sister. But you can imagine that. But of course, that doesn't really count now anymore. But if I wasn't HR, what would I be? Maybe I would be a teacher. With my love for money, I think is it love? Yeah. Love, not lost. I like money, really. Maybe I would be a money manager or an investment banker. Maybe that. And maybe my pastime, maybe I would be singing. Maybe I'll be singing. And maybe I will be also be a full-time mom. I don't like full-time housewife, but I can say full-time mom, all right? Maybe. But the core of it, if you want to rank, all of that, maybe top of it will be an investment banker. Maybe I will just be doing some money management, investment analysis, and all of that. I still do that for myself.
People to manage their wealth. Yeah.
Yes.
Build wealth.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Faith. That's an interesting facet of you that I am going to explore later after this.
Maybe, yeah, yes.
All right, Faith. Before you go, what advice do you have for young female aspiring professionals out there? What advice do you have for them?
Okay. As much as our journeys are unique, that'll be one of those things we should pick out. Our journeys are unique, really. As much as that is, we should, if we really want to be a respectable HR professional, we should pay a lot of attention, right, to our passion for people. Passion is very important. HR is not, it's not like any other job. HR is about people's lives, people's career, right? And so if one wants to go into HR, if you're going to start a career in HR, or you even started, you really have got to be ready to do all the hard work without being recognized or thanked. Because HR is a thankless job. You do the job, you do a lot of work, and it looks as if you're really not working. Sometimes it's you find yourself like that servant that is between the devil and the blue sea. You're between the management, you're between the management and the workforce. You have to please the workforce, you have to please the management. You have to sort of keep trying to find a balance and meander in between the two without appearing like you're sentimental towards one or the other. Yeah, you have to not show that you're on anyone's side. When you're in the boardroom, you have to think like the business owner. And when you are in the town hall, you have to think like the employee and put yourself in their shoes. It's a tough place to be really doing HR. And really, if HR is not the core of your purpose, if serving people is not the core of your purpose, maybe HR is not for you. And there's really nothing wrong with starting out in HR and branching into some other places where we find passion and comfort. Well, maybe not comfort, but find ourselves really living out the kind of life we want to live. So for me, even when we talk about work-life integration or balance, it's like work is life and life is work. Yeah. So I may not be able to have a cutoff because I really enjoy what I'm doing. And sometimes you just need to tap me on the shoulder to remind me that, oh, there's another life, right? So as HR people, we should be able to connect our passion and purpose to what we're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Faith. So girlfriends, you heard that HR is not your go-to profession if you're not really passionate about helping people, if you're not really passionate about helping organizations, if you're not passionate about connecting the dots between your staff and your management. So if that is not your passion, HR is not for you because you are not going to get any thanks for all of those things anyway. Yeah. So you have to have your thick skin on at all points in time.
Great, thick skin.
Yes, I have been there. I'm living that. So I can believe what you just shared with us now. Thank you so much, Faith, for joining us on the show today. We appreciate it. It was a short notice, but hey, you're a girlfriend. You just have to answer us. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Girlfriends, we come to the end of today's show. We hope you've learned a lot from our conversation with Faith Akintunde, and we are hoping that you will put some of those learnings into your day-to-day behavior and practices. So, Benny, you want to say thank you to girlfriends out there?
Thank you, girlfriends, for joining us. Thank you, Faith. Thank you for being such a good sport. I would love to hear you sing one of these days. I know you have a very lovely voice.
Looking forward to that.
All right, girlfriends. Remember, we are HR Girlfriends Tribe.
Before we go, Benny, no. You are not going to tell girlfriends you want to learn yet.
Okay.
Tuesday is another date with us. Tune in by 12 p.m. You can check out our videos on our YouTube page, HR Girlfriends Tribe. You can also check us out on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Email us at hrgirlfriendstribe@gmail.com if you want to become a part of us. Thank you so much, girlfriend. We'll see you next time. Remember, we are HR Girlfriends. We learn, we leisure, and we network. Bye.
That's right. Bye, guys.